sacking the quarterback, and numbers of sacks became tremendously important because the quarterback was the key athlete in the sport. This put a premium on escapability. All of a sudden, you had a proliferation of black quarterbacks who had that escapability factor. What I'm saying is that it was Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Charles Haley, Chris Dolman, who gave us the black quarterback just as surely as the lion gave the antelope his speed. I think one sacking the quarterback, and numbers of sacks became tremendously important because the quarterback was the key athlete in the sport. This put a premium on escapability. All of a sudden, you had a proliferation of black quarterbacks who had that escapability factor. What I'm saying is that it was Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Charles Haley, Chris Dolman, who gave us the black quarterback just as surely as the lion gave the antelope his speed. I think one sacking the quarterback, and numbers of sacks became tremendously important because the quarterback was the key athlete in the sport. This put a premium on escapability. All of a sudden, you had a proliferation of black quarterbacks who had that.
One, two, 1, 2. What's going on, my people? Don't you just love music? Yes, sir. 1, 2, 1, 2. What's going on, my people? You already know who it is. It's June, the GM. The GM don't stand for general manager, as I say many times, but the GM stands for good money, because when you invest your time in me, you can expect a good return. Well, what's going on once again? You already know what this is going to be today. It's going to be the NFL draft recap. Oh, my God, so much to cover. There was a lot to cover. Let me just adjust my little camera here. I don't like the way he's looking. I think that's a little bit better. You can never get it perfect, man. There's always some stuff. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, so I want to thank you for tuning in. Hey, people in the comments, man, if you could just let me know if the sound sounds good. I noticed a couple of sound issues last week. I didn't like the way the mic sounded in certain parts. So I just want to make sure I'm on the money with that. So yeah, what an NFL draft, huh? So much to cover. But if I covered everything, it's going to be a 4-hour episode. We ain't going to want to do that. Of course, a little bit later, we're going to have some GOAT talk. All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Jimmy. Got some GOAT talk a little bit later. But right now, I want to talk about, a few things with the NFL draft, man. It was an exciting draft, I guess. Seeing Shedeur Sanders slip to the 5th round. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's an NFL conspiracy, right? That he went in the 5th round. But I am going to say that that's kind of strange that he fell to the 5th round. If you want to be honest, even if you think that Jackson Dart was better than him in college, then Shedeur should not have gone past the 2nd round. But I don't want to bore you with Shedeur talk because I could be here all day. There's a lot of funny things that go on in the NFL. What I'm going to run by you real quickly, I got my notes here, is some of the teams that I think drafted amazing this NFL draft. The Ravens, as usual, had a fantastic draft. When don't the Ravens have a good draft? Huh? Let's be real. Tell me when the Ravens don't have a good draft, right? Ravens had a great draft, as usual. The Patriots, believe it or not, it burns my mouth to say, but the Pats had a good draft. Kansas City had a solid draft. The whole NFC East had an incredible draft. The Giants drafted well, although I don't like to trade back in the 1st round for Jackson Dart, but that's just me. But the Giants had a solid draft. The Cowboys did, the Commanders, as well as the Cowboys. Man, believe it or not, over the years, and I keep saying this, the Cowboys are a good drafting team. They're not where they don't fall short because of a lack of talent. There's always been coaching with the Cowboys, and they haven't had a good coach since Jimmy Johnson. That's just my opinion. Mike McCarthy was decent, but you already know he was, being controlled. Yes, I got the Bears down here as a team that had a good draft, Jimmy. I also got Tampa Bay, Green Bay. The Chargers had a pretty good draft. I like the way they drafted that running back because you already know that Jim Harbaugh is the type of dude who can run that rock. So he's solidifying that running, that backfield. And you can expect him running the ball down people's throats. Remember last year was Jim Harbaugh's first year in San Diego. And they made the playoffs. He is one of the best coaches in football. I've always said it. He wins everywhere he goes. The Harbaugh brothers are amazing. But if you want me to choose one, I'm going to pick the one in San Diego. I like him a little bit more, although he lost to his brother in the bowl years ago. Now, the draft went as expected, the first 7 picks. Not necessarily the teams, right? It wasn't, the Jacksonville traded and got my boy Travis. But for the most part, the first 7 picks, the talent was kind of what everybody expected, right? We expected Ward to go first. We expected Travis Hunter to go second, Abdul Carter third, and then I think you got who was the 4th drafting team? It's not coming to my head, but I know that the kid Graham went up there. And then, the Jets drafted Membo. I'm going to get to the Jets draft a little bit later. I'm expecting my man Connor Long to jump on here for a little 10, 15 minutes with me so I can pick his brain about his thoughts. But, yes, New England drafted the kid Campbell from LSU. I wasn't a fan of him, but I'm happy they drafted him. We were able to get Membo. I think whenever you draft and solidify the offensive line, is a good pick. I know. I wanted Tyler Warren as well, the nice, sexy, good pick. But you can't get Tyler Warren to rock if you can't block. And I think that the Jets, by drafting Membo at 7, I don't know if it's Membo, big boy. Okay, let's call him the big boy. When they drafted him, the New York Jets solidified their offensive line. And I'm not reaching when I say possibly the Jets could have one of the best and youngest offensive lines in the entire NFL. Surprises for me how the kid Johnson from Michigan fell all the way down to the second round. That's crazy. Yo, I like them so much that I even told people I won't get mad if we draft him at number 7. But word is that he has a bum knee. It's not the turf toe. It's not the other injuries he caught, but word is that he has a bum knee. Membu. Thank you, Jimmy. So word is that Johnson has a bum knee, almost like an arthritic type of knee, a tendonitis type of issue that sometimes feels good, sometimes doesn't, that is a recurring issue, and that it could be something that cuts his playing career short. That's why he fell in the draft, which is sad. I hate to hear that. I don't know how true that is, but that's the word and why he fell to the second round, because the kid's a playmaker, that corner from Michigan. He's a playmaker. Also, amazing to me how they let the Ravens once again not only pick up the safety from Georgia, but then they turn around and pick up the kid from Marshall, the pass rusher, right? Green. Really? That's why I say the teams like the Ravens are always competitive. The Ravens will always be in the hunt for a Super Bowl because they draft well. The Ravens are one of the best drafting teams in the NFL, and it's been like that for the last, safe to say, probably 15, 20 years, man. Maybe I'm stretching to 20. Let's say around 15, right? It's been 15 years that the Ravens been kind of relevant, right? And loaded with talent. Because it's year in and year out since Ozzie got down there, and then he passed on the torch. The Ravens are one of the top draft. In fact, I would say that the Ravens are a top 3 drafting team in football. Some surprises to me were Pittsburgh. I feel like it would have been a perfect situation to draft Shedeur if you were going to bring Rodgers in. I know, super drama, right? Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders on the same team. That's must-see TV. Cut the check. I'm tuning in. If Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders would have been on the same team in Pittsburgh, put that on HBO or whatever other network is now showing the NFL stuff. Put that on TV. I'm tuning in. But they didn't do that. Instead, they waited, I don't know, to what round of draft. What was it, Will Howard? Not killing the kid. He all right, but I don't know what Pittsburgh is doing. I guess they're banking on, I guess Rodgers probably guaranteed him that he's going down there. That's why they ain't making the power move for the quarterback position. I don't like what Pittsburgh is doing, man. I don't like Pittsburgh right now. I don't know if they're trying to set up Tomlin to fire him. Man, but whoever, if they let go of Tomlin, and Tomlin can inherit a team like the Giants with a ready little bit of attack. Woo! Remember, I said it first. Don't sleep. But I don't know, because the Giants don't really like. Oh, that's a whole different time. Let me not go there. Let me behave today. I'm gonna behave myself today. Let me get a little sip of my stuff. I can tell you. Another thing that surprised me in the draft was how the New York Jets have one of the weakest defensive lines in football. I mean, I could have ran for 130 against them last year, and they did not address the defensive tackle position. In a draft that had a plethora of high-end defensive tackle talent, the Jets, for some odd reason, didn't see none fit to draft. I don't know about you. And I know, have faith in the new regime, have faith they can coach him up. I don't know about you. But this is one of the worst drafts I've seen in a long time for the New York Jets. I'm sorry. I got to call it like I'm not a fan, right? If I'm going to be an analyst, I'm going to be out here, spitting jewels about sports. I got to call it as it is, man. Drafting a wide receiver who dropped 10 balls? Who's not? Drafting a wideout that can't catch the ball. It's like drafting a running back with fumble issues. Come on, man. What's happening in New York? Aaron Glenn, he was a scout, came up rough through and I'm a Glenn fan. Terrible draft. Loved the first pick. The tight end, Mason, Jonathan, the old Miami stinky Dolphin, Jonathan Taylor's son, Mason Taylor, don't like him. I don't like him. He don't look explosive with the ball in his hands. He don't come off the line of scrimmage fast enough for me. He looks like he's running in slow motion. I don't like him. I don't like that kid. We could have got a better tight end. We could have drafted Fannin. Give me Fannin Jr. I don't tell me he looks slow. He caught 17 passes for what was it, almost 200 yards in a bowl game. Stop. We could have got better. I don't like Mason. I don't like his face, as a matter of fact, because it reminds me of Jonathan Taylor. And anybody who tells me they like Mason Taylor ain't a real Jet fan, because you know damn well we don't want no stinky damn Dolphin bloodline on our New York Jets organization. I don't like that pick. I don't like it. And I do like DeQuan Thomas. He was supposed to be a top 2, second round. He was supposed to go in the top 2 rounds. I don't know why he fell. I like that. It wasn't a position of need, but sometimes the talent's too good that you got to grab him. But my God, what did the Jets do? Draft a whole bunch of special teamers? No, we ain't draft one legitimate wide receiver that to me, I was like, oh, I like that kid. None. And they were on the board when we drafted that kid in the fall. I'm not going to make this episode Jets episode. I'm not that angry today because, as you can see, my New York Knicks escaped last night or yesterday afternoon. They could have called that. They could have called that on the 3-pointer. They could have called that, but they didn't. But let's move on from that. Big shout out to my New York Knicks. I hope they let go of Thibodeau by the end of the year, though. You gotta go. You're out of here. Anyway, back to the NFL draft. It was interesting to me. And I heard this said around. Tell me what you guys think about this. Somebody said that Shedeur Sanders dropping in the draft like that made more people tune in to the later rounds, the 4th, 5th, and 6th round, 7th round, than ever before. And I can say that's kind of true, because even my wife was wondering when they're going to draft him. Was this the game plan between the Sanders family and the NFL? Did they know all along that he was going to go to Cleveland? Was there a bag on the side waiting for him? I don't know. There's a lot of things I'm hearing. I'm hearing that they brought Shedeur Sanders into to a meeting, and he told the dude, Joe, I scored a 1,600 on the SATs. I don't got to answer these stupid questions. I'm smarter than Jeff Bezos, he said. That's what they saying. They can be lying, though. People lie to diminish and tarnish people's names. I don't know. I heard a lot of crazy stuff. But here's the reality. Him getting drafted that late made me tune in. I was watching the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I usually, would watch probably the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, on my phone. But I was locked in. I wanted to see where he was going. The NFL is weird, bro. I don't know what's going on, man. There's some funny stuff going on with the NFL, man. I think the steal of the draft, to me, were the Baltimore Ravens grabbing that safety that late and then turning around and getting Green. I think those are 2 players that could have easily been top 20 picks in this year's draft, and the Ravens got them both in the 1st and 2nd round. But that's what happens when you draft well. Another surprise was Shough, if you pronounce his name like that, the Louisville quarterback, going that high and that early. Was it the Saints who decided to draft a 25, 26-year-old quarterback instead of Shedeur Sanders for whatever reason? Because they think do they really think that kid from Louisville is better than Shedeur Sanders? Because I don't. What do scouts? Is there a scout school? Is there a school for scouts? Or do everybody have the same pair of eyes and watch the same college games and, dissect play? Listen, I get it. Scouts are looking at the way they come off the line, if their foot's pointed this way, how they back. I know scouts look at things we can't even imagine. But damn, I think the average football fan can see talent, bro. I think the average football fan, and I say average, the kid who's locked in and watches the games every week, I think the average fan can tell a dude who can ball out and can't ball out. If you're going to sit here and tell me that Shedeur Sanders deserved to go in the 5th round, and that quarterback from Louisville is better than him and deserve to go that early, you might not be watching football, bro. You might be watching rugby. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what some of these scouts be thinking, man. I don't know. I don't know why Aaron Glenn sat there and said, we got Mason Taylor. That's who we wanted in the second round, one of the best young tight ends. He never exploded in college. Had a decent career. They said they didn't utilize him correctly. They always say that when it's a bad pick. Or he wasn't utilized correctly. Or don't worry, we're going to help him do this. We're going to help him do that. I don't want to hear that, bro. I didn't like the pick. In fact, I'm not going to lie, man. Some of the draft coverage was kind of suspect. I kind of feel like the NFL draft coverage. Matter of fact, the most exciting part of it was Mel Kiper arguing with that other dude. I forgot the other dude's name, Katz or something. When Mel Kiper was arguing, that was classic. It was also classic Mel Kiper saying how GM has been getting the quarterback position wrong for years. Listen, everybody knows that even the best GMs hit at a 30% rate on draft picks. 30% is looked at as a good GM, hitting on 30% of your draft picks. I don't know what Mel Kiper's talking about because Mel Kiper be saying some crazy stuff. If you look up some of the predictions that Mel Kiper said about players, a matter of fact, Mel Kiper was the dude who was saying Lamar Jackson should be a whiteout. That was Mel Kiper. I don't know how he been on TV this long, lying, gassing dudes up like he's some expert. Mel Kiper looked like he never played football. Mel Kiper looked like he never played two-hand touch in his life, yet alone football with equipment on. Mel Kiper looks like he didn't play any sport growing up. Forget football. Mel Kiper looked like he never played basketball, football, baseball, skelsies, stickball, nothing. Somebody let me know if there's any history of Mel Kiper as a youngster playing high school ball, junior high, pee-wee, something. Because I want to know how he got a job at the NFL this long and getting fat checks, but his toupee going back. I want to know how he's doing it. I need the blueprint. I'm going to buy his book. If he got a book out, I'm going to buy it because that must be the business manual of how to get over on cats and get money. Because Mel Kiper is a swindler. He is, Jimmy. He is a film nerd, but he's always getting it wrong. He sound good, but he be saying some crazy stuff. And you know it. There's a lot of dudes who are nerds who can throw off 1,000 statistics, who can memorize, the average yardage. And there's a lot of dudes who can do that. But I think the average fan can see talent. And if the average fan sits here and tells me, oh, man, Shedeur getting drafted in the 5th round, what's the right thing? Or that kid from Louisville deserved to go before him, or the Giants made a good move, trade him back into the 1st round to grab Jackson Dart. A player that word is can't memorize 5 players at the same time. They said Jackson Dart is terrible on the board. That his coaches had trouble opening up the playbook because he couldn't memorize more than 5 plays. That Jackson Dart, the Giants traded back for him. Giant fans, let me give you some relief. This will be the last year for Dable and that stinky damn GM you have. I'm not going to give the GM prop for drafting Abdul Carter. We all would have drafted him if we had that pick. You don't get a pat on the back for that. Joe Schoen, this will be your last year with the New York Giants. Dable, I think you have a lot of potential as a head coach. But word is that you were wanted to do saying some crazy stuff about the Sanders family. I don't know how true that is. Word is Tom Brady was killing them. All I know is that the NFL is like anything else. Politics. Let me repeat that. The NFL is like everything else. Like your job, like this political system. It's all politics. Not politics, politics, because all they do is for us, and all we do is tune in and spend all our money and time watching the damn NFL. And I'm going to keep doing it because I like it. I like the pain of being a Jet fan. I like the pain of seeing dudes getting decapitated on the field. I like it. That's why we want doing stuff like this, because we can't get enough of football. We can't. Let's talk about this. Oh, he'll get an OC job, definitely, Jimmy. That Dave was a pretty damn good coach. He's just, not a good head coach. It happens sometimes. Let's see what he does with Dart. Might save his job. I'll tell you what, too. Boy, Tampa Bay looking good. Tampa Bay drafted some good players. They drafted a nice wideout out there. They drafted Ibuka. Woo, man. With Godwin and Evans to guide them. I like what Tampa Bay is doing. Tampa Bay been looking all right. They have turned themselves into a perennial playoff team. Resurrected Baker's career when he was done. Baker was as done as Johnny Manziel. Came back out of the darkness like the Walking Dead. And look at him now, looking good, my Oklahoma Sooner. Boomer Sooner. Hold up a minute. Boomer Sooner. Mayfield looking all right. I think also some of the dudes who announce the NFL draft are getting a little bit boring. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it a buck, man. Nobody excites me when I'm watching the draft, man. Maybe they need to bring back my man. What's my man? Oh my God, who used to have a nickname for everybody, man. Oh, come on, man. When you got too much stuff on your mind, man, name skip me, man. My boy, man, he used to have the NFL show for 60 minutes, and he could go all the Berman. Chris Berman. Bring him back to the NFL draft show. Bring back Chris Berman, man. Where's my man at? Bring back Kenny Mayne, the old legend from ESPN. By the way, true story about Kenny Mayne. I did a couple shows. He had a show once they used to promote on ESPN. I was a featured actor on some of the episodes, and he gave me an autograph hat with the ESPN thing. That's my man, man. That's my man right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Much love to Kenny Mayne, man. You know what I'm saying? Bring Kenny Mayne in, man. The Chris Bermans, man. Where's the good commentators, man? I don't know about you, man. Okay, I get it. You got to have Mel Kiper because he's like I guess he's a staple for that stuff, but give me some new blood, man. Give me some other cats, man, who can. I do like the guy who was arguing with him, though. I like the way, that tension. I like that. You need that. You need two dudes who don't always agree with one another. That's why, when I be watching that Cameron and May show, it's cool, but they agree too much. They co-sign each other too. I like when there's a little bit of that tension. What cats don't always gotta agree. You can agree to disagree, man. But they need to do a better job of covering the NFL draft. One thing too I noticed about the draft. Tell me if y'all noticed this. There was no beautiful stories. Remember the stories? But they would talk about how the kid was homeless and how he got adopted and the family that adopted him. The father was a coach at the high school and gave him an opportunity to play. And he put in the hard work and came up hard and became a great high school player, and then got recruited to only a Division III, but then worked his way from Division III to Division II to the Division I, the Ohio State. You remember those stories, man? They used to have you hear the sad music in the back, and you see him running, and you be like, "Oh man, I hope that player gets drafted, man. It's good for." They don't got that no more, man. They don't got that no more, man. Like they don't. I didn't see no stories about him. I seen a couple of stories. One dude that when he got drafted, his mom passed. After he made it to the hospital and told her mom, I finally got drafted, then she passed on. That was a beautiful story. But there's so many more beautiful stories that they don't talk no more. They don't tell no more stories in the NFL. What happened to the stories, man? What happened? All them kids, man, they come from most NFL players, let's call it as it is. Most players in the NFL that make it came from hard times. Most of them. Let me ask you guys something. They didn't even make too much of a big deal about Travis Hunter's father, right? Who's incarcerated and they let him out. to be a part of the draft situation? Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you see anything about Travis Hunter's father when he got drafted? I know they were mentioning here and there, but I kind of feel like I didn't even see the dude. Where did they let him out to? Where was he at? In the back handcuff? What happened? Oh, man, and you know, right? They didn't mention it. I heard through the ground they're going to let Travis Hunter's father out to be a part of the draft. Where was the father? I ain't see his pops. Listen, I love Travis Hunter, man, but that jacket he had on was diabolical. That pink jacket was terrible. That's why I know he don't got a good woman in his life, because my wife would never let me wear no pink jacket like that. That jacket was hideous. Terrible. Travis Hunter looked terrible. Who dressed him? The Heisman Award winner. The most dynamic player in the draft was the worst dressed. Oh, man, Travis Hunter looked terrible in that pink jacket. Oh, man. And then it was an ugly pink. It was just one of those, had the strap going over like he was going to pull out a banger. Oh, man, Travis Hunter, you look terrible, baby. And your shorty, man, come on, man. I hear you're going to marry her. You better get a prenup. I'm all for marriage. I'm married. I don't got no prenup with my wife. My wife leave me. She ain't getting nothing. Maybe the microphone. I ain't got nothing for her to take, baby. I'm okay. But you, Trav, you got a lot of bread. You got a lot of bread, Trav. Don't be stupid. Sign that prenup, or you're going to find yourself looking like Tiger Woods after his shorty took a billion from him. Remember, she had 960-something million? Ay, ay, ay. Can you imagine? Tiger Woods' ex-lady ain't never grabbed a golf club until she met Tiger. She took half. He was never the same, man. Tiger was never the same after he was buying them blimpy sandwiches for them shorties in the drive-thru. Never the same. But Trav, man, I'm gonna keep it a buck, man. That suit was ugly. That suit Travis Hunter had on was ugly. He ain't look good with his complexion. You had to go a little bit prettier, man. A little light. Too bright, that pink, brother. You look like you belonged in LA late night. I ain't like it. I ain't like that Miami Vice pink on you, brother. It was ugly. And then the high water pants, it was an ugly display of fashion by Travis Hunter. Great player, terrible dresser. You gotta step it up, Trav. You in the NFL now. Talk to Jalen Hurts. Talk to my man on the Jets, Tyrod Taylor. Get some pointers on how to dress up, because you're looking crazy. You're looking crazy. Let's move on. Jeanty to the Raiders. That was interesting. I like it. I like Jeanty to the Raiders. Bring back that whole running game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, Abdul Carter looked like a priest because he's Muslim. Some people say Muslim. Some people say Muslim. I say Muslim. That's why I heard it's the correct way to pronounce it anyway. Yeah, he is. That's his belief. So, he wanted to wear kind of like his religious like type of garment to pay respect to his God and stuff. And one thing I can say, I thought he looked clean. I thought it looked good on him. That boy looked good, boy. He looked like he's gonna be a problem. By the way, Lawrence Taylor told him he asked if he can have the number 56. And Lawrence Taylor said, absolutely not. Lawrence Taylor told Abdul Carter, brother, I don't know what you did in Penn State, but I can tell you this. You are not going to rock number 56. Get another number. And I love it. Put some respect on LT's name, Abdul. I know you're a great prospect coming out of Penn State. You ain't Lawrence Taylor. Stop it. Show some respect. Maybe number 55 is available, 54. Maybe number 99. 99 might be all right. That's my man Gastineau on the Jets. Maybe you bring 99 to life for the Giants, but you're not going to get 56. I'm sorry. LT said no. Let's move on. Were there any surprises to you in the draft, guys? Let me see in the comments. What's anything in the draft aside from Shedeur Sanders obviously dropping that you were like, oh my God, he's still available? I told you how I feel about the kid from Michigan, the corner Johnson, him falling back there. Green falling to the second round was crazy to me. I think that's about it. I think everything else kind of went as planned. I saw a couple of reaches, nothing off the top of my mind that was crazy. You know, but that being said, let's take a little pause on it. You know, I gotta go to my notes because you know what I got for you, brothers, man. I think you know what time it's about to be. I think you know. It's most people's favorite time of the show, right? And with that being said, let's go to Go Talk. Woo! Go Talk, baby. So today, oh man, let me tell you something, man. I do a lot of hard work with the Go Talk. Please, so you know, I just don't come up with dudes off the top of my head. I do a little research, and I know some of the Go Talks I've had. You guys are like, oh, people know about LT. People, not everybody. A lot of Jet fans or Giant fans. A lot of fans, period, are younger fans that don't really know the history of the game. It's not like LT played 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like a Ray Lewis. I'm trying to bring back. I'm trying to start like bringing dudes back that maybe you knew about, but didn't really pay attention to his greatness. But today's Go Talk is really impressive, man. It's somebody who I really respect. It's somebody who Jerry Rice himself, Jerry Rice said, had the best hands that he's ever seen. Now, if Jerry Rice says you have the best hands he's ever seen, you know you bad. Woo! This man went to the University of The Ohio State. While there, he had 168 receptions for 2,725 yards, made the all-century team at The Ohio State, first team All-American, missed his senior year because he signed with an agent and grabbed a little bit of money because his family was poor and he needed that bread. While in college, though, the man I'm about to mention also battled drug addiction, alcohol, marijuana, but started doing cocaine as well. The man, because he didn't play his senior year, was drafted in the 4th round, the 3rd pick in the 4th round of the supplemental draft. I don't got time to break down what the supplemental draft did for you guys. When you got time, look it up. But basically, man, he didn't want to draft the brother. He just ruined his own career in college by taking money from him. Back then, it was frowned upon, taking money from an agent, things like that. Everybody was doing it. You just couldn't get caught doing it. It's not like nowadays where it's out in the open. The man got drafted with the 3rd pick in the 4th round by the Philadelphia Eagles, actually. The man is one of my favorite players of all time. That's why he's on Go Talk. We're talking about the one and only Cris Carter, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. Cris Carter. I say Minnesota Vikings because that's where he ended up last. Now check this out. Check this out. Because some of these stats are crazy. I'm bringing up my notes, guys. So we all know, like I told you, Jerry Rice said he had the best hands of any wide receiver. Cris Carter. Cris Carter's head coach when he was in Philadelphia was Buddy Ryan. And what was happening was Cris Carter basically was so drug addicted and so messed up, man, that Buddy Ryan had to release him. But let me tell you something about Buddy Ryan. And, for everybody who don't know who Buddy Ryan was, do your research because you should be ashamed of yourself if you don't know who the hell Buddy Ryan is. I shouldn't have to break him down. But anyway, Buddy Ryan, father of Rex Ryan, released him. But Buddy Ryan has so much class because Buddy Ryan didn't tell no one why he released Cris Carter when he did. He kept it in-house. He kept it between him and Cris. But he told Cris, yo, Cris, man, I got to let you go, baby. I can't do it no more. I can't keep doing this, man. They let him go after 3 seasons. He fell out of football for a while, and a year later, he got scooped up by the Minnesota Vikings. Now, there's a I don't know if you guys ever watch A Football Life. Fantastic, man. If you're a real football fan, please watch A Football Life. They got every player you can name has a story of football life, but man, Chris Carter's is powerful. I ain't gonna lie, it made me cry. I can't even lie. I can't even lie, yo. It made me cry, yo. Chris Carter's was amazing. But in the football life, he says that when he got traded to Minnesota, Minnesota was one of the only teams that had some type of drug program in the organization to help players that struggled with drug addiction. It was a lady who was down there that took Chris under her wing and really helped her. And he said that one time they had a conversation and she asked him, she said, "You think you can stop drinking alcohol for a week?" Chris Carter looks at her and says, "I mean, I guess, but why?" Like, she was like, "Can you just do it for a week?" Chris Carter said, okay. He agreed to it and he never looked back, never touched it again. Chris Carter, when you hear stories like that, it shows you that success doesn't always guarantee a smooth life, because for him to be such an amazing talent, somebody that, once again, the Jerry Rice says has the best hands ever, for you to be that gifted, but battle drug addiction shows you that it's not easy for everybody. Sometimes we watch these successful people on TV and we hate on them, right? Oh man, I don't like his music. I don't like this. You don't know what people are battling. You don't know. You can see somebody on TV. To you, they might look like they got the world in the palm of their hands, but in reality, behind closed doors, a lot of them suffer with bad, low self-esteem. A lot of them don't know God. A lot of them are addicted to drugs, sold their souls, were raised bad, could have been molested. You don't know people's situation. That's why I try my best not to pass judgment. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, because everyone has a story. And Chris Carter was a drug addict, to the point that Buddy Ryan had to release him from the Eagles, got picked up by the Vikings, and was blessed enough to meet a woman who had a drug addiction program within the organization of the Vikings. And that saved not only Chris Carter's football career, but his life. Let me give you some Chris Carter statistics. By the way, Chris Carter will always go down in history as being part of one of the best teams never to win a Super Bowl. That Super Bowl team that we talked about when I covered Randall Cunningham. That team that had Randall Cunningham, Randy Moss his rookie year, and Chris Carter down there, but the great late Dennis Green as head coach. That team should have won a Super Bowl, but they lost to the Falcons. Crazy, but that was it. In fact, they say after that playoff loss that Randall Cunningham said he went in the locker room and heard somebody screaming, crying, broken, and when he looked, it was Chris Carter. That's how much the game meant to him. But Chris Carter's statistics, man, he caught 1,101 receptions, 13,899 receiving yards, and 130 touchdowns. Averaged 12.6 yards per catch over his career. Made 8 straight Pro Bowls. I mean, that was the time when Chris Carter, I want you to think about this. Now it's normal for cats to catch 100 passes, right? Twice in Chris Carter's career, he had 122 receptions. We're talking about, I got to give you the year, because this is crazy. This is crazy. Listen to this, man. Chris Carter had 122 receptions in 1994 and 1995. They wasn't throwing the rock back then like that. You know what it is to have 122 receptions in the 90s? Chris Carter, for me, when I think about Chris Carter, I think about toe tapping the sideline. How he brought that ball in smoothly and touched down right inside the white line with grace and elegance. Chris Carter, to me, And the statistics back it. Mind you, he threw away the first 3-4 years of his career because of drug addiction. But Chris Carter, to me, is one of the 5 best wide receivers of all time. I'm telling you, that's my opinion of Chris Carter, okay? Better, if Jerry Rice said he had the best hands he's ever seen, that should tell you something. It's hard for you to tell me that Chris Carter is in the top 5 receiver of all time. Not with those numbers and not with the game he played. Look up the highlights. I know we have a lot of lazy so-called football fans that don't watch old clips. Go on YouTube, type up Chris Carter's greatest catches. You let me know what you think about Chris Carter. You let me know. Look at his career in college. Yo, he broke the Rose Bowl record as a freshman. Let me tell you what he did in the Rose Bowl as a freshman. Where's the stat? Because I wrote it down. It was ridiculous. Okay. I guess I didn't write it. How about this? In the Rose Bowl, because I didn't write it down here. I thought I had it in my notes here. But 2-time All Big Ten. Where's the stats at for that Rose Bowl game, though? Anyway, he had a freshman record in the Rose Bowl. I think he caught for 178 yards with like 11 receptions. He was unstoppable. In fact, when he didn't play his senior year because he got kicked out of college football, he got the coach fired because that's how bad the Ohio State stunk. And in his Hall of Fame speech, because he got inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame a couple years too late, but he did. He apologized to the head coach that he got fired at the Ohio State with tears in his eyes. Oh, man, please watch A Football Life with Chris Carter, man. Please, man, if you love football, and you love the stories that sadly the NFL draft didn't have any, if you love football and love a real good story, check out A Football Life with Chris Carter. But number 80, man, to me will always be remembered. Yes, 9 catches for 172 yards. We talk about back in the days in the 80s. Freshman Rose Bowl. The granddaddy of them all. The Rose Bowl. Pasadena, baby. That's when you know you bad. When you show up in the big game as a freshman. In the Rose Bowl? Listen, man. I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan, and I grew up always wanting to go to the Cotton Bowl because that's where Oklahoma will go against Texas, things like that. But if it's one other bowl game that I always wanted to play in, man, that I had dreams of, was the Rose Bowl. Oh, man, the Rose Bowl? Put the rose in your mouth and you win the game? What? Anyway, man, today, man, that's my GOAT talk for the day, man. The one and only, man, legendary, number 80 himself, man, Chris Carter, man, and watch A Football Life with Chris Carter, man. Just remember, man, that everybody has a story, man. Chris Carter, 1,101 receiving yards, 13,899 yards, basically 14,000 yards receiving, 130 touchdowns. Chris Carter, a worthy GOAT talk of the day. Yes, sir. So, that was the GOAT talk, man. I love the GOAT talks, man. Let's talk a little bit more NFL draft, man. One thing I learned about the NFL draft, man, that it's almost like the mock drafts, right? You just don't really know how dudes are going to pan out. So many dudes say, yo, they reach for this player. That player turns out to be a phenomenal player. Sometimes the dudes are right, Players drafted high turn out to be phenomenal players. But you just really never know, right? Because if you knew, there wouldn't be so many GMs getting fired all the damn time. If you knew the hit rate for draft picks wouldn't be 30%, right? So, you just never, man, this, man, I love, when I see this, I just think about Brunson. Oh, man, Jalen Brunson and the big cat. Anyway, that's for you, Rich. Stop hating on my Knicks, you damn Celtics fan. I'm talking to you, Canes. Stop hating on my Knicks. Anyway, when you talk about all these prospects coming out of college, you just really don't know who's going to pan out to be something special. So many dudes fell out of the first round. They could turn around and be Hall of Famers one day. We see Chris Carter, man, missing the senior year and being drafted in the 4th round of the supplemental draft. And becoming one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of football. Jimmy, I know my Knicks ain't going. I know we can't beat the Celtics, but let me bask in the glory of yesterday's sneaky, slimy victory. But now, there is what's the word I'm looking for? There is a recipe for success. And that recipe is consistently drafting well and having top-notch talent evaluators. And it's sad to say that the New York Jets have not been known to have great talent evaluators over the years. They just haven't. The Ravens, they do. Dallas, they do. Philly, let's get this out the way right now, man. I have to call a spade a spade. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best GM in football right now. They do. They set up to win. The Philadelphia Eagles are my favorite to repeat in the Super Bowl again this year. They stack, bro. I don't know what happened. I don't know when that GM started to get it clicking. But the Philadelphia Eagles have the best team in football. They are the best ran organization. They have the best talent. Their offensive and defensive lines are the best in football. They got a straight pipeline to the University of Georgia. I don't know what's going on, but the Eagles are dangerous. They are the best team in the NFL, not because they won the Super Bowl, but because they're set up to win more Super Bowls. I don't think they're going anywhere next year. And I don't think the Commanders are going anywhere next year neither. The NFC East, that's a hard division to win, because I think the Washington and the Eagles are going to go neck and neck again. And then expect, this is my sneaky pick early. We're seeing what they did in the draft. We're seeing the changes they made at the head coach position. I'm picking the Bears to make the playoffs next year. Yeah. Caleb Williams, former Boomer Sooner. I'm picking the Bears to make the playoffs next season. I know other people are too, but that's my prediction. I'm picking the Bears. The Chicago Bears will make the playoffs next season. They got too much talent not to, man. I'm sorry. The Chicago, if Johnson is a halfway decent coach, Ben Johnson, if he's halfway decent, there's no way the Bears don't make the playoffs next year. If he can maximize Caleb Williams' potential, Caleb Williams is going to be a top 5 quarterback. Yeah, that Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams can throw on the run. He's mobile. He's accurate, has a strong arm. Caleb Williams is that dude. He's what Shedeur Sanders wishes he was. No disrespect. I love my man Shedeur. Oh, the NFC North is the best division in football, Jimmy, hands down. Hands down. The Packers, loaded. Minnesota, loaded. Right? Detroit, loaded. And Chicago, loaded. Best division in football. In fact, I don't even know if there's ever been a time when all 4 teams in the same division made the playoffs. But man, that division is stacked, bro. That's the best division in football. I'm sorry. Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit, best division in football. Woo, the best by far. There's not even a close second to the NFC North. There's not. There's not even a close second when it comes to division in football. The NFC North is the best division in football. In fact, those games are going to be wars between the Lions and Packers, the Bears and Lions, between the Packers and the Vikings and the Bears. Oh, man, what? That's old school football down there. And I like it because they always kept that division the same. Unlike us, that we got rid of the Colts. When the Colts used to be in our division, although I hated the Colts. I just hate their uniform. So terrible. Anyway, back to the draft, man. If I had to critique one thing about the draft, like I said, I don't like the lack of storytelling for none of the players, man. I didn't feel connected. I remember way back in the days when Warren Dunn got drafted. And they had a story about how he was adopted and this and that. Was so beautiful, so powerful. I was rooting for the kid to get. They had none of that going on in the NFL. It was all about Shedeur Sanders. And don't get me wrong, I love Prime Time, but I don't love him that much. I don't love him that much that he dominates the whole draft was about Shedeur Sanders. I mean, the NFL dropped the ball, man. They didn't have no. People don't even know Ashton Genty, if I'm not mistaken, is Canadian. They ain't talk about that, his upbringing, none of that. There was no good stories in the NFL draft this year. They got to step it up, man. Too commercialized. They just kept on with the same narrative of the Sanders falling, and they stood a little bit on some topics, but they just NFL got to change its vision, man. They're so focused on expanding that they're overlooking the strong foundation they already built. That's a life lesson. Sometimes you can get so focused on expanding your vision instead of reminding people what your vision really is. The NFL was built, its foundation was built on great football, hard-hitting football, and great storylines. The storylines are out of football nowadays, man. They're not there. They don't exist no more. In fact, ESPN don't even exist no more. ESPN got some of the worst analysts on TV. I'm sorry. I get more from watching different podcasts than ESPN gives me. They took out the storytellers, man. They took out the real journalists who really love the game, man. All these dudes they're terrible, man. They're terrible, man. And let me say, the advertising, you already know about the advertising. I mean, they got a commercial every 3 minutes, man. It's crazy. But let me tell you another thing too, man. Rich Cimini, man, has to ask some of the worst questions of any beat writer I've ever heard of, man. Rich Cimini, I do not like the way he covers people. Some of the questions that Rich Cimini asks are asinine, ignorant, and have no basis for anything. He's the type of people I'm talking about. They got all these people on ESPN. You got Dan Orlovsky. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But he was a terrible quarterback. So I find it amusing that he breaks down quarterbacks with the precision of Steve Young going up the field in the playoffs back in the days. But he was terrible. Now, I get it. Sometimes terrible players become great announcers. But why do people be acting like when Dan talks like people talk like when Dan Orlovsky talks, or whatever the way you then pronounce his name, people act like when Dan talks, his word is the Bible. No, I mean, I don't like, what are you talking about? You stunk. You ran out the back of the end zone. Then you got Stephen A. Smith. Listen, I'm not hating on Stephen A. Smith, man. Cut the check. But my God, they got him spread out too thin. He's covering every damn sport. That's why Joe Rogan went in on him when he was trying to cover the UFC. Yo, my man, you don't know what you're talking about. Stephen A. Smith is best when he's talking about basketball. That's what he covered for years. He's not good covering football. ESPN needs a fresh, brand new vision and new analysts. They need some new dudes down there, bro. Because watching the draft coverage was terrible. I'd rather watch NFL Network, and I'm not crazy about them either. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like them either. Peter, what's his name? Peter Sek. I like him. He's probably the only one I like down there. I'm sorry, just him. But this ESPN woke stuff is trash, man. I don't like how they cover sports. I don't like mixing politics with sports. I just want to talk sports and watch good games. That's it. I don't want you to convince me to get poked, to get the jab. I don't want none of that, bro. I don't want it, bro. I'm not mad at you if you got poked. To each his own. Your body, it's fine. But stop with the woke agenda, man, ESPN. Get back to sports, man. Get back, in the name of Stuart Scott, man, the great. Cooler than the other side of the pillow. Bring it back, baby. Hire some talent. Because sitting there watching the draft was crazy. It was crazy. I was bored the whole time. But I stayed tuned in because I wanted to see where Sanders went. Get back to storytelling. Sports needs storytelling. And I'm not going to lie. I've been watching the NBA playoffs. They've been intense. They've been good this year. And I'm happy the Lakers are down. Sorry, Land. I love you. I know you're a Lakers fan. But I cannot stand Luka, and I can't stand his lack of defense. He has to be the worst defender in the history of sports. Has anybody seen Luka? Did you see Luka defending? It was like a layup line going up. When Luka defends against you, it's a layup line. 2 points, 3 points, it don't matter. He ain't playing OD. That's beside the point. I got a little guest I'm gonna bring on soon to cover some NBA stuff because this guy's serious about his stuff. Celtics repeat. Yeah, that's a high possibility. To be honest, I would like to see Boston against OKC, or I would like to see the Knicks, of course, but we're not going to make it that far. But if you're going to tell me Boston's going to make it, I want to see them against OKC or Minnesota. Even maybe, I don't think Golden State's that good, man. I love Steph, but I don't think they're that good to make it. I think Boston against OKC or Boston against Minnesota gives us the best championship. That gives us the most exciting championship to watch. That's what I think. Boston against OKC, so I can see SGA go up against Tatum. That would be nice. Or Anthony Edwards against Tatum. So Anthony Edwards could give him 40 a game. That's right, Richard Keynes. I said it. That being said, I think overall, the NFL draft was a dud. I think that there was a lot of surprises in it, but it didn't make for good TV. I told you who I think my top winners were for the NFL draft. When you're looking at the Ravens, the Pats, Chargers, KC, Giants, Dallas, Washington, Philly. I like what Tampa Bay did, what the Bears did in Green Bay. Some other teams did decent as well. I think the Jets had one of the worst drafts of any team, and that's because I don't think we addressed two pivotal needs, which was wide receiver and defensive tackle, and a defensive tackle in a draft that had a plethora of defensive tackles. The Jets ain't draft one. I don't get it. It's like walking in a sneaker store with a bunch of money in your pocket and you don't leave with no sneakers. I don't get it. I got to buy something. I got to find me a pair of J's somewhere that I like. I don't know how there's a plethora of defensive tackles in Aaron Glenn and Darren Gookie, because he Muji Gookie. How about Darren Goofy? That's better. Darren Goofy, because he's a goofy dude, couldn't draft a defensive tackle in a draft full of defensive tackles. I'm going to have a guest on next week, a young gunner who knows his football, and the whole episode is going to be dedicated, sadly, to the New York Jets draft class. I'm going to save a lot of my anger for that episode. But what I do want to say is this. I hope you took something from the GOAT Talk with Chris Carter. That just because you had it rough before, you've been through some stuff, that doesn't mean you give up. You keep fighting. And some of God's greatest warriors, some of the people who have done the most on this earth, had a hard upbringing or battled some serious things. Fight for whatever you got to fight for. Put God first. Even if you don't know him, just speak to him. He's waiting on you. But don't give up on yourself. Because just because you're in a battle right now, it don't mean that that's going to last forever. Joy comes in the morning, the word says. Battles are just temporary, but it's how you handle them that makes the difference. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm going to keep being consistent. And I want to remind you that once again, as June the GM, your sports edutainer, the GM don't stand for general manager. I wish it did, but it stands for good money. Because when you invest your time in me, expect a good return. I love you, brothers and sisters. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and God bless.